Well, how'd do? You want to come see what we got done on the cottage? You want to? I'll show you. The farmer in.
Liddell.
The farmer in.
Liddell.
Hi-ho, da dirty do, the farmer in.
Liddell.
All right, so we got all of the bedroom insulated. Everywheres. Yeah, I cut the angle wrong, so I had to turn it around. And then this is the other half of it, but we won't talk about that. Shh. Anyway, and then I moved all the stuff back in here because I'm trying to get the floor out here cleaned up. And here's our leftover insulation and the stuff that goes underneath once I do all of the water check. But I got this fancy little unit put in right here. So that right there, bloop, that is my pilot, or whatever you want to call it. It's where the gas line, the propane line, is going to come in for the little propane cooktop. It's going to go right there. And then that is the power box for the little igniters. I thought it had a battery igniter, but apparently I didn't read things right. But anyway, we got all this done. And this particular thing of insulation isn't stapled in, because once I figure out the height of the cupboards, the cupboards, that's it. Sheesh, we need to put a hood over the top of that cooktop. So I need to put a vent through that, but we're not there yet. One thing at a time. Anyway, so now we're back in here. I just put a blocking in here. That's a backing so that you can screw in your toilet paper holder. Yeah. So you're not just going into drywall, you're actually going into something solid. That seemed like a pretty good idea. So now I just got to get the rest of my plumbing done, and then we'll start putting more of that stuff up. Yep, the green board. All right, well, we got our water lines all set up there. I built little doodads so that it holds it in place. Anyhow, and then we got them coming across here for the propane water heater, but I ran out of the little compression rings, so we're not doing any more water line tonight. Anyway, now I'm gonna do some drywall anyway. Come out here. I'm gonna do this wall. So I've got to figure out that little triangle right there where it gets cut off. Actually, it would be like this. Anyhow, I'm gonna cut a piece that goes on the bottom, cut a piece on the top, and then I've got it marked over on the side here with some Sharpie so that I kind of know about where it's at. And then I've got one of those roto-zip things where you just stick it in there. They work so slick. Otherwise, you're trying to cut on this thing, and literally, it's 1.5 inches, like right here. That's going to be pretty hard to not break. So I'll just put it up there with the roto-zip, and you go around the outside, so you're like pushing up against it because there's, that much hinking over. So it comes in, and you come over, and you can feel it drop in, and you're pushing against this. And then when you come across the top, it'll start going over. So when you're getting close, you got to there's a finesse to it. Otherwise, you end up with really big holes. But anyway, yeah. I'm going to get the bottom one set, and then maybe I'll set you guys up on a tripod and show you how that goes. I'll have to set a light up in here because it's light outside, but it's getting dark in here. Like, see up in there, there's some shadows and such. But anyway, we'll get that first one on, and then I'll set you up on a tripod, and I'll show you that roto-zip thing. So those marks that I told you about, we're going to go ahead and draw some lines out on there just because. Well, we'll go to the top so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Anyway, this will give us kind of a reference as to where that line is, or that box is. So I know this is the center of the 2x4. So if we come 3/4 of an inch over, it should be right in there. So if I guesstimation about right there, then that should be 3 of the sides. Actually, and the 4th one, I believe, is all the way up against there. Yep. So it'd be helpful if I had to remember to bring my roto-zip jobber. I think it's a roto-zip. That's a brand, I believe. But anyway, we'll go grab my little noisemaker, and I'll be right back and show you how this works. Hopefully we don't make a big old hole and screw it all up. Well, I kind of wandered off a little bit right here, but let me show you the cover plate. So there's the holes, and I know you can't see, but I can. Let's see here. It's gonna cover them up. My mistake will be hidden. But anyway, that's how that little guy works. It's so this little last 1/8 inch right there, that has no drill bit part on it, but the rest of it's essentially just a real coarse flute drill bit. So it just cuts it out. And then when I got to that last little bit, you saw it kind of pop in and the lid popped out. But this only sticks out like maybe 1/4 inch. That's why you can still see so much white right there. Actually, it's probably less than 1/4 inch, but anyway, yay. One more panel is up. It's getting pretty dark, so I'm going to have to take care of animal chores. But we'll get this one screwed up, screwed down. Saying I screwed it up sort of sounds bad. We'll put screws to it. Now, if you've ever seen a professional rocker, drywall hanger, they are so stinking fast, it makes me look incredibly slow. Because I am. So you want to go just deep enough to where it's below the surface. It kind of pushes the paper in, but you don't want to rip the paper because then it's not doing you any good. But you don't want it sticking out because then when you go to smooth it off with your joint compound and all that kind of stuff, then it, or topping compound, then it's a speed bump. And then you got to float the whole thing out or tighten it down. But anyway, we're going to bring them just below the surface so you can see it kind of push the paper in. I think I'm going to need a ladder. Oh, no. Stepping on the cord made the lights go out. Did. Now I gotta go do chores. We'll see you back here later. Okay, it is a new day and I got more plumbing supplies, mostly the compression rings, but some other stuff. Let me show you where we're at. Okay, we talked about tight quarters before, but dang. So that's where it goes up into the floor. You can't hardly see there, but anyway. And all along here, and dip-a-dip-doo, I had one leak. And of all the places, it was right there. And it turns out that it was this one right here. I just didn't even compress it. Slipped the ring on, put the fitting in, drip, drip, drip. Went to cut everything out, and then I was like, maybe I should just crimp that one down, and voila. Anyway, on down the line it goes, and yeah, all the fittings underneath of here. There's where the shower goes up in. I bled it off with air. I just had like a little line here. I'll just show you. So I just ran a little line to the hot water side because right now the water heater's not hooked up, but I've got it looped. So this is the furthest point, and just turn it on into a jug to get all the air out. For right now, This is my water heater, essentially. Now, I'll just cut this out, slice both of these, and then put different hoses so that the hot water goes to this side and the cold water goes to that side. And right there is where the propane water heater will be. This box won't be here, but it's got all the fittings I need to run dual tanks. That way, if you're in the middle of dinner and you can just switch this little guy. Boop, boop. Wow, that was loud. And then you're up and running again. Anyway, so now we have all of our leak check done. Had one leak and it was just me being a dingling, and I forgot to crimp one ring. So no leaks technically once they were all crimped. Anyway, so now we can just get to drywalling. I'll clean up all my mess because you kind of got a peek of it, but yeah, I'll clean the floors up and then we'll start in the bathroom and work our way out. Yeah, I got plumbing stuff all over in the bedroom. Major trip hazard, more plumbing stuff, and a trail of plumbing stuff all the way into here. And then our shower thing, the mixer valve is just kind of hanking out. For right now, it's got a nail holding it right there. But yeah, a nail, a screw. Anyway, so now I can put all of this insulation, I can just flop it down, staple it back into place, and then I'll turn the water off, and then I'll bleed it out so that I can pull these out. They're the shark bite style, so I can compress a little thing and then those come off so I can slap the drywall on. Anyway, so I'll get all of that mess cleaned up and then I'll bring you back. I'll meet you right here. Okay, I have enough space so that I can now cut drywall on the ground. I might have to scooch that a little bit, but anyway. And then we got things pretty well cleaned up in here. I still have some leftover drywall for around the corner, but I still need to do the top part of the vent stack, so I can't insulate or do the inside. But yeah, it's pretty tight in the bathroom. Got it? See, vent stack. It stops. Anyway, so yeah, you can imagine it's going to be hard to do anything with a camera in here, but we'll get our top piece done and then fit the middle and all that happiness. But anyway, so yeah, that's going to be difficult. And the only reason the vent stack's not done yet is because I don't have my roofing, so I don't want to cut a hole up through there and then have it rain down in, because that'd be bad. But anyway, so yeah, I think what I'm going to do next is probably start right here, whoop, and then I'll go up above. We just got to remember to cut a hole in that as we're putting the drywall up. But the rest of these, yeah, they're going to have to get cut first. But the two outlets, well, that's an outlet. That's a switch. And let's see. I think we stop right there. No, right there. So that there is an outlet. But anyway, those can get done with the same cutter outer majinger as what we did the electrical box with. But anyway, I think we'll go ahead and just call this video right here so that I can get a little bit of cleanup, and then I'm going to do a bunch of marks on the ground that give me an idea of where all those different pipes are going to be and stuff like that, so I can measure it out and everything. But thanks for checking out how we're doing on the cottage, and we'll see you guys in about a week. God bless.